Hello Fraser, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Now, as far as I know,
Yes.
you are a 20-year-old acting student currently living in Falmouth, and one of your big hobbies, as everyone watching this will know, is you are a YouTuber.
Yes.
You've got a channel that you've built with over 1.3 subscribers.
Okay.
You've got many ongoing fandoms, Muppets, got occasional Marvel bits, lots of Disney stuff, lots of other bits. You've amassed over 20 episodes of the Fraser Oliver podcast. On a separate channel, you've got over 25 episodes of the Mediocre at Best podcast with myself, and you've got the Fraser Oliver live channel, which you just started to build up. Is any of that information not correct?
No, that's all bang on.
So, you today have asked me to interview you.
Yeah.
Now, we've done an interview on the Fraser Oliver podcast before.
We did.
Little bit more jokey, quite in the style of Fraser Oliver.
I guess more what the Fraser Oliver podcast is, in the sort of jokey, just asking like, what were you like as a child? Yeah, like a more sort of light-hearted.
And yet today you've asked for the phrase we've both used to most accurately describe it is a podcast that I'm certainly a fan of, and I believe you are as well. The Stephen Butler podcast, where they're not afraid to laugh, but it's a more serious deep dive into who you are, the main things that have gone on in your life, sometimes good, but quite a lot of the more difficult stuff. And I think the aim today is probably to find out what's gone on in your life and why you are the person you are today.
Yeah, I mean, there's several things. I know another podcast I like is Jack Mate's Happy Hour, and there were episodes they did there. One focused on Stevie, one focused on Jack, about sort of their deep delves into their lives, which I thought that was great. Obviously, Stephen Butler I've been only started listening to recently in the past month, but I really like. And I've done like a mental health video before, and I wanted to do sort of an expansion on that and sort of like an update sort of thing. And I thought a podcast format would be cool for that.
So, is that the main reason why you've asked for this, or is there other reasons going on in the back of your head? Why are you doing this today?
I guess I don't want to sound wanky. It's like so people know, because obviously you do YouTube. When we film videos, I'm not the same person in a video that I would be at other points in my life. So I kind of want to bridge the gap between this is what I'm like when I'm talking about a Muppet, and then this is what I'm like in my day-to-day life. And I enjoy those podcasts and sort of getting behind the curtain sort of thing and looking at, like, there's some about how the channel works in this podcast, but also just me as a person and what led to where I am now, I guess.
That's lovely to hear. I want to start, I think, and we'll see how far we can go with this, but I think it's important to see what you were like at a very young age.
Okay.
What are your kind of, not first memory as in who cares, but like what, just describe you as a child.
It was weird, so I was always quite, it depended the setting I was in, like, when early life, like at home, I always remember I was quite into films in a big way. I remember my dad used to say, when my older brother got dropped off at nursery, he'd come home and put The Lion King on repeat for me, and I'd watch that all day. So very film orientated. I used to dress up as characters from films quite a lot. I was quite like within the family, like for Christmas or birthday, I was quite a big sort of personality in those get-togethers of the like. I wanted the attention to be on me. I was like, look at me. I wanna do this weird thing for everyone. I guess that was like where the acting came from. I was very like, everyone look at me. I'm gonna do this weird thing, and everyone's gonna laugh. And I was like, people are laughing at me. That's great. I love that. And I guess that was like, I was very driven by what were people laughing at me for doing. Right, I'm gonna do that. And then you get the things of like self-conscious, like people are looking at me and judging me started to set in. So it was early enough, sort of 5 to 10, I was very like, oh, look at me, aren't I funny? And then sort of realisation of people aren't looking at me and laughing perhaps because I'm funny, but because they're laughing at me, and like that sort of thing started to set in. So it was a combination of I want to be centre of attention, but also people are laughing at me, I feel a bit weird now.
Is there a deeper meaning. Is that truly you just going, I want to entertain? Is it as pure as that, or is there a deeper, I need to lift people up in a dark time, or something like that?
I mean, I think it's just sort of, I know that I don't like awkward silences, and so I was always, as a kid, if there was silence, I'd have to talk. Like we went to quite a lot of weddings as kids, and I couldn't like just sit there in silence. I had to like be fiddling with something, or I had to be talking. I had to be like I can't do silence. I think that came into like I have to do something, and then it was like I want to. It's maybe like the approval. Like if people are laughing at me, that means they find me funny. They approve of what I'm doing. I guess is part of it.
Was your childhood happy?
Yeah, I mean I had, I guess what you'd call like a. As in my parents still together, always have been quite a loving family, which is nice. I'm lucky enough that I haven't lost any of like my grandparents yet. I've lost great grandparents, but I didn't really connect to them as much because I didn't know them for as much of my life. But no, I had a happy childhood, yeah.
I guess again, I guess it's probably very much the surface route to go, I was happy because parents still together and a lot of relatives were alive. Were you... Because I guess, without trying to inject too much personal experience, I can remember my childhood, if I was to describe it in a bit more of a deeper way, going, it's always waiting for the next step and never quite feeling happy enough in the step that you're in. Is there a beyond the my parents are still together answer?
Definitely. So early when like primary school sort of age, even to maybe like year 8, that was very like all I was thinking about was what am I doing now? And it was fairly easy going stuff. It was like up to year 8, the schoolwork you're doing is relatively simple stuff. Like it's a plain sail. Like I was clever as a child, but I didn't use it. Like I didn't care about it enough to like I really want to like do it. So I was like, and then I guess on from year 9 up like through GCSEs, I was very like, so I need to get my GCSEs, cool. Right, then I need to go to college, cool. Then I need to go to uni, cool. Then I need to get it was very up until then there was no plan. I wasn't focused on the future at all really. I was just like, what am I doing now in this time? Is it making me happy? Yeah, it's making me happy enough. Fine, let's go for it. I get that. But I didn't do anything. As a kid, it was school was a thing and family was a thing. I didn't go out with friends a lot. Like I didn't. If there was a birthday party when I was like 10, yes, I'd go to that. But I didn't go out with mates a lot until sort of like GCSE time, which sounds a bit sad, but yeah, I just didn't. I don't know. It was. I have.
Was that because you were happier in your own company, or was that just because? Was that because you didn't put yourself out there enough? Was that because you were just perfectly happy to...
I think it was a combination of all this. I think, I was happy enough in my own... Like, in my room, either, like... I loved Lego, growing up to either, like, building Lego. I was lucky enough that my younger brother, Alfie, he's quite a lot younger than me, but so he's, like, 14 now, and so it's like a 6-year gap. But we both liked the same things, and so he'd want to play... with like Fireman Sam, he'd want to play with that, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm up for that because it's like I don't mind doing that. That was quite good. We had that. I was quite happy with like my brothers like having a kick round in the garden or playing like we played like Mario Kart. Like I was happy within my family, and I have this weird thing where I don't like my worlds mixing, if that makes sense. So like I have my friends and I have my family. If there's an overlap there, I get very like nervous for some reason. So like if people come around my house, I always have mates come around to like for a sleepover or like just to come around, I'd be like really nervous and on edge that my friends are in touch with my family, and I don't know why. Like that was weird. So I guess I liked very separate, a barrier between them, I guess.
You've talked about how up until 10, this showman persona almost, and then. Obviously, you've defined this age as 10, maybe it wasn't, but what can you pinpoint where that snap was? Can you pinpoint where that went
between
from,
showman and...
Where I went from, I enjoy entertaining, to, not necessarily I don't enjoy entertaining anymore, but there's some self-conscious elements in there.
I couldn't tell like the specific where I remember going, right, I need to stop, but I think... It might have been even something like, right, school's getting a bit more, like, you got your SATs coming or something like that, where it was like, right, we need to stop doing that as much and start knuckling down with work. That might have just made me go, oh, right, so I can't do that anymore because I need to do my work. I guess, I couldn't tell you a specific point where I just snapped. I was like, right, I don't want to do it anymore. And look, I still did, but it might have been like drilled out of me. Like at school, people were like, no, you need to do this. I don't know, because yeah, at some point I went from being like quite loud at home. I want to like look at me, I'm doing something stupid. To right, I should probably get my homework done on time. I don't know when the snap was, but it might have just been the case of school needed to be done, and so I sort of faded it out.
So therefore, how did you find school? Were you like, did you feel like this regimented approach almost took away something from your personality, or did you need that?
I mean, so early for like primary school, it was so the way my schools. I had a first school which was reception to year 3, then a primary school which was 4 to 6, and then obviously secondary school. So first school, I have very little memories of like from reception to year 3. Other than like vague, like clouded memories of doing things, and then primary school, the group of friends I've like been, because when you're at school you have like a group of friends that you stay with, and they were very weird through primary and secondary. Like primary, I was with a group of people that were sort of, they were all into like football, they like sport, things like that, and I was just like, this doesn't interest me. I did that through like trying to get into it, like I want to get involved. I just couldn't do it, and that was at times always felt quite isolated. I was like, why don't I like football? Because like these are like running around talking about like the teams in sport. I don't like it. I don't know what to say here, which felt weird. But like it was nice enough because then there was luckily a bit of an overlap there with things that they also liked. So you've got like Harry Potter, that they were like, that Marvel, they all liked that, but it was more football, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. But school itself and like the work, yeah, I was clever, but I didn't want to be, if that makes sense, because of that group. Maybe I didn't want them to think, oh, I'm the clever nerd. I don't want them to see me as this nerd is really clever, and I just sort of stopped trying. I think in primary school, which probably wasn't a good idea, but yeah.
Was there ever a point that when was the first point that you truly felt like you did fit in socially, and that you could genuinely be yourself without feeling like you had, whether that was because you were around the right people or you just gained more confidence in your own interest? When was that point?
So it was sort of like broken. So at the start of secondary school, year 7, that was obviously a whirlwind, but I then found a group of like 4 or 5 mates that I was like, yeah, okay, these are cool enough, and then that sort of, when we moved to a different tutor group, that sort of broke up. It probably wasn't until like GCSE, like year 10, 11, where I was like, right, I have these people who I know like the same things as me, because even, I had a group of friends in like year 9 maybe, that all were quite Harry Potter centric. You probably know who I'm talking about. I won't say names, but I liked Harry Potter, but they sort of liked it to a new level, and I was like, this is intense. But I stuck with them because I don't know where else I'll go. But then yeah, in GCSE, obviously I did GCSE drama, so finding people there that like it. Even like subjects I didn't think, like in French, I found a great group of people who I could speak to and felt like I could be me, which was nice. But yeah, it was quite late until I found a group. I was like, right, I can settle. Like, this is a good group.
So would you say, your journey seems almost like up until 10, quite authentically you, then for a period of a few years less authentically you, and now has almost been building back to a more authentic you again.
Yeah, I feel like through, I know this is jumping forward a bit, but especially through college and now uni, it's been building back, feeling like I don't have to go, I want to hide this part of my personality. I can go, right, I'm going to put it out there. If people don't like it, that's fine, I think.
Do you regret hiding that personality?
I don't. It wasn't a conscious thing is the problem. So like, I'm not sure if it's like, because I didn't actively go, right, I need to get rid of this. I think it sort of faded out, and I don't regret it, but then I'm not glad I did it. It's just sort of like, I know it's happened, I acknowledge it's happened, so now I'm just like, yeah, I need to get that back to try and be me again, and not like who's been made. Yeah, it's weird.
Is there a specific time in your schooling journey that you can really pinpoint as like a period of real unhappiness? Like an extended point in your younger childhood where you go, do you like school or other things?
I don't think in school as much. I mean, there was a lot of stuff with an ex that went on like in year 10, 11 that was obviously quite. It was quite stressful. It was all sort of happening at once. You know, when you're like kids like that, when there's like stuff going on in a relationship, everyone knows, and then like they've got their friends who then hate you. You've got your friends who then hate them. So there's this whole. It was unhappy. It was stressful. It was very like, this is definitely not worth it. And looking back on it now, I'm like, that was so unnecessary for like everyone involved in that. Just didn't need to happen. But I think that is the one like point in school where I was like, this is a lot, and this is mental.
Was that the first point in your life that you'd say that mental health started to become an issue you were aware of?
Yeah.
Because I think there are three roads you could go down with this. I don't think much younger than that you would have recognised it as a mental health issue, but were there things going on even before that? Was that the first big time that you feel like mental health was a thing, or was it after that?
No, I think that. So I think before that there have been times where little things had happened where I felt down, I felt upset, but I was like,
Can you explain those?
I couldn't pick, but there was one time in like year 6 something happened, I think, with one of my mates, and I felt really, really upset and like angry. But then I was like, oh, everyone gets upset, everyone gets sad. It's nothing big. But no, I think definitely year 10, 11 with all that stuff that happened with my ex. That was the first time I was like, this is like really like this isn't. I'm not just sad. Like I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. That was like the first time I was like, why don't I want to get up and do stuff? Because usually I as a kid I would be up at 6 o'clock, like running downstairs, watching something, playing with like my toys. I'd be doing something, and so to have like in like year 10 to go, I don't. And even like with school, I'd be like up at 6:30 having breakfast, ready to leave the house at 8:30 to go to school. But this was the first time I was like, I don't want to get out of bed, and not because I'm tired, but because I don't want to see people. Why is that? And that was the first time I was like, this isn't just sad. It was, yeah.
So, am I right in saying that was the first point you specifically suffered with depression?
Yeah, I think that's the, yeah, because I think before that it was very little things that I think I was just annoyed, but yeah, this was the first time I was like, this isn't just, I'm a bit upset.
So, speaking on that specifically, how did that develop? Because people feel it in different ways. Sometimes everyone has it in this underlying way, and then sometimes it can spike, sometimes it goes in ebbs and flows. What's your experience like?
So weirdly, at least for that, like for the, let's go like year 10 to 11, that period, it started off as a very, I'd go to school, I wouldn't talk to anyone, I'd just sit on my own, or talk to the 3 people I like and know I can trust. And then it sort of transitioned into, I feel like this, but that doesn't mean that everyone else needs to because I feel like it. And maybe that's going back to like the early childhood. I was like, people are laughing at me, I like that, they're feeling happy. So I was like, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling shit. That doesn't mean they need to. So I sort of tried to get myself out of that down, keep to myself, and try and get out and talk to people, and try and make them. I know that sounds really like, oh, I try to make people laugh, I'm so great. But I was like, my feeling shit doesn't need to make everyone else feel shit. And I got to a point where I was feeling selfish for feeling shit. So I was like, they don't want to feel shit. Why do I feel shit? It was a very mentally draining period. It was, it basically manifested in not wanting to get out of bed, being on my own at school, but then also just not wanting to make others feel shit because of me. And then I guess that's where the guilt comes in of, oh great, now they feel shit because I feel shit, which is a strange path to go down, I think.
Did the guilt reinforce or make worse the depression you were already feeling?
Yeah, it did, because it was like, oh, okay, so I'm feeling shit. Now I'm worried that is going on to that person, making them feel shit, and now I feel even more shit because I've made them feel shit. And it was just this circle of, I am now affecting other people in my life. And even at home, I'd go home, I'd go straight up to my room some nights, I just wouldn't see anyone, other than to go down for tea. And I was like, well, now am I making my family think I hate them? It's when it started affecting others that I was like, this isn't good.
Without trying to group mental health things under an umbrella, because I think it's important to analyse them each separate entity. Anxiety.
Yes.
Was that before, after? Because we've seemed to have pinpointed this big mental health event that seems to have started things. Where did it go from there? So,
I never pinpointed it as being anxiety until the last maybe 2-3 years, from back now. So I just get a bit nervous at times, but then it got to a point where I couldn't do something because I was so anxious about doing it. I wouldn't go to doctor's appointments, I wouldn't go to the opticians, I wouldn't go to the dentists, I wouldn't go to job interviews. There was a whole thing with driving lessons where I just would not go to them, and I'm like, is that normal? And then I spoke to some of my mates, who I still spoke to from school, and they were like, no, that's not, we don't feel that. And I was like, and that was the first time, so that came after the whole sort of late school feeling down and sort of the depression starting, and I was like, I thought this was normal, that people can't talk on the phone, don't like answering the door, don't want to go and do things that they need to do. And then I spoke to my mum about it. She was like, no, that's not a good thing. And so that kind of then went back into the depression of, oh great, so now I'm feeling more things that might be affecting other people.
So you feel like, have you in your mind linked those two things together? Has one affected the other?
I think the anxiety definitely affects the depression, but I don't think the depression affects the anxiety. Because if I'm we'll go back to the driving lessons. I'd get anxious to do the driving lessons. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't message say I hadn't gone. I just wouldn't turn up. And then in my head I go, a few hours later, I'd then be like, oh great, now I've wasted their time. That might have affected their day. And then I don't get out of bed because I don't want to, I've ruined their day. So, yeah, the anxiety definitely affected the depression at times, which wasn't great because then again it was just this circle.
So, do you look back at events even before, because we have to acknowledge mental health issues as truly like diseases.
Yeah.
So, do you look back on things that happened even pre the X, for example, and go, wow, I didn't realise it at the time, but maybe that was an early, did you have any early signs of...
Not that I can think of. No, I don't think there were any... I mean, I can't think of any times where I'm now looking and go, that might have been early signs of depression or anything like that. No, I can't pinpoint any. No, I honestly, I couldn't pinpoint any. Which is weird because... I guess the anxiety has always been that... I don't know if it's anxiety or just nerves as a kid of anytime they'd be like, right, get up and say this in front of the class, or even go and talk to if someone's like, oh, go and find this teacher, I'd be like, I don't want to because I don't know where they are, I don't know where they definitely are, I don't know what to say to them. That was always quite a...
I guess the difference maybe would be in these instances, did your nerves actively stop you or severely hinder you from doing it, for example?
No, which is why I don't think it was. That's why I can pinpoint any like early anxiety or depression, because none of it stopped me actively doing it. It was more just in my head going, "Oh, I'm a bit nervous to do this," but I did it anyway. Whereas later with the driving lessons, things like that, it was, "I'm anxious to do it. I'm not going to do it."
In that case, do you look back fondly on not necessarily what you were doing on those times, but times where you maybe weren't you didn't realise that this is something that affects you?
Oh yeah, because it's that childish naivety of me just thinking it's normal. But I guess there's also not as many pressures, obviously, when you're in year 3. However old you are, there's very little pressures on you, and I guess that's the thing of as you grow, as you're getting older, GCSEs start to become spoken about, your whole future, because that daunted me when they were like, so you need to get good GCSEs because those grades will allow you to get a job. I in my head I was like, whoa, hang on, we've skipped a lot of steps here, and that I remember getting very like in my head about what if I don't find a job, what if I don't have a career, what then talk about the next like 50 years of my life, and I'd get so worked up, but I can't. Yeah, I do look back because it was a childish naivety of this is happening, it's fine, we'll get through it, sort of thing.
Your day-to-day life.
Yes.
If any, and obviously you'd account for there being better days and worse days, how affected are you by your mental health in a day-to-day life?
Luckily, I think not as much now, but definitely last year living in halls and going through college. So that probably, if we're looking, say like post-COVID, so COVID onwards, massively, because there would be days at uni, there'd be days I just didn't turn up to uni because I didn't feel like I could get up and go and see people. I wouldn't use the kitchen at my uni hall because I didn't want to see people. I'd be anxious. They'd be annoyed I was in there, which is mental because it was a shared kitchen. So in uni, it affected a lot the first year because it affected grades, it affected performance, it affected other people because I wouldn't show up. But that now, or at least the summer just gone and the month we've lived in this house, it hasn't affected me massively at all. There have been times where I feel like I've upset someone, like during the summer, and I've gone like to my room and just sort of calmed down. But I think now I know how to deal with it more. Like I know myself. Back then with what happened with my ex, it was very, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how I need to react to it. But now I'm more right. This is happening. I can pinpoint in my brain. This is what's going on. This is what you're feeling, and therefore this is what you need to do to get out of that headspace. If that makes sense.
What are your coping mechanisms? How have you managed to deal with it better now compared to how you would have dealt with things 4 or 5 years ago?
So there are several. Sometimes, like, because I will be able to like know myself what I need to do. Sometimes it will be like shut the curtains, turn the lights off, just lay in bed and like sit there and like in silence, try to go to sleep. Sometimes it will be there's something like music, like put some music on that you like. There are some like sometimes it's even like a film. Like there'll be films that I know are like what I call comfort films, where like I know the film inside and out, so I don't have to pay attention to the film, and it's just on in the background. It's a nice film that I know I like, and it just all calms me down. So film, music, sometimes even like weirdly doing like productive things. So weirdly doing productive things. So say I can't get out of bed, so I feel like I don't want to see people. It's like okay, so steps, get up, have a shower, because that would like having a shower when like you can't get out of bed is great. And then it's like I might go right, okay, so I need to film a video today. Let's get started on that. Or I need to go shopping. I need to do the washing up. Just sort of having checkpoints in my head of things I need to do that I know this sounds that I know how to do, if that makes sense. Whereas like it's not a task I'm gonna have to actively think about. It's like say reading one of the books we need to read for uni. That's a task I'll need to think about because I won't have read the book before. But doing the washing, I know how to do that. Having a shower, I can do. So yeah, it's that sort of task I know how to do. Watching films, music, or sometimes just laying in bed and sort of thinking it through, if that makes sense.
So, in terms of your more recent mental health, we've talked about how there are parts of your first year of uni that were really tough for you. Can we pin do we know why that is? Was it, I don't know, still in a bit of a COVID phase? Was it just the complete new surroundings of it? Why then? What? Because ever since I've known you, maybe it wasn't your worst period, but that was when I noticed it to be at its worst.
I think it was a combination of moving away from like home was a massive thing of like knowing that like I don't have family right there was quite a weird thing, which I didn't think would affect me the way it did. Feeling quite isolated, like I got on with my flatmates, but a couple of them hung around with people that were quite big personalities and like would wreck the kitchen and that sort of thing, where I'd be like, that makes me uncomfortable, so I wouldn't want to go out and see them, and that made me feel quite isolated. And I guess the overwhelming of going from, like we said, COVID stopping, going to uni, and suddenly being surrounded by hundreds of new people on the course, new surroundings, new place to live, new lecturers, new people, like new mates. I think that was the main factor in it. I just felt massively overwhelmed with, there's new people I need to get to know, there's new work, there's new places. It was a very, like, there's a lot going on here sort of thing.
COVID.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say that COVID, especially early COVID, hit you hard.
Yeah. Early COVID was not a great time, and my family, because there was no escape from my family seeing that, because we couldn't leave, like that early COVID, it was literally you cannot leave the house. There was no you just couldn't go anywhere. So yeah, my family definitely saw that, and it was like, because I was like, well, what do I do now? I'm stuck in my room or like going to the house, but I don't know what to do. And I'm one of those people that I need to be up doing something, whatever that is. I need to do something. When I wake up in the morning, I can't just have a lay in. I'm like, right, I need to get up, go on my phone, or I need to go and do a video. I need to get up and go somewhere. So being told you have to stay in your house for me was so like mentally almost repetitive. Because I was like, there's only a certain amount of things I can do in this house before I've done everything, and that was quite scary almost.
So, how long into COVID, say, it obviously started in March 2020, how long into COVID did it take for you to properly find your footing?
I'd say probably like 1.5, 2 months maybe, because it was then that like people were giving advice on what to do maybe in COVID. Like YouTubers that I watched back then were going, this is what I'm doing in COVID, and I was like, oh, that's cool, I'll give that a go. There was all the like, I don't know what to call it, like the trends that happened in COVID of people like baking stuff and all that sort of stuff, and I guess that's where college ended, which was a massive, I hated doing college for that last 2 months when it was all virtual, so that's when that ended, and I felt like, right, okay, I have stuff that I know I can do now, and that's when the channel started, so I had that I could focus on. Yeah, I'd say 3 months in was where I was like, okay, I've got stuff I can do, and I know how to keep myself busy.
One of the extra complications that you and your family had that some did, obviously some didn't have to deal with, was you have a member of your family that meant you had to shield.
Yes, yeah.
How was that? Because as far as I can tell, that was an extra, we've got to be extra secure, which means even when things are a bit lighter, you were still having to...
Yeah, so my dad had to shield for COVID, and it meant that basically we had to, even when you could go to a shop or you could do like your 30 minutes of exercise a day, we had to be extra doubly careful that there was no one else there, and like it was hard. Like even with like getting an online shop, my dad couldn't get it from the door, so that meant we had to do it. We could have like 6 people in a garden, my dad couldn't, so that was an extra like that was an extra thing where like, and I guess seeing that other people are doing that, where I was like, well, we can't have that, was difficult. Which was, yeah, it wasn't great, but it was, I'm sure for everyone, as COVID went on, we were finding new ways of getting around it, or new things we could do to keep ourselves busy.
So, from what I can remember, in terms of the 3 big lockdowns, the third one was by January of the following year.
Yes.
By that point, can you see a big difference in your mental health, how you learnt, almost taking things back to mental health, was COVID almost a place where you learnt a lot of strategies to help?
Yeah. Yeah, I think COVID really sort of, because before with mental health, I had ways to not only distract myself from the struggles, but also distract myself from finding a way around them. So like, if I was like, I'm feeling upset, I'm like, it's okay, I'll go do this and I'll forget completely about it. Where in COVID, it was like, I have to learn how to deal with this. Otherwise, I'm going to genuinely go crazy in lockdown. So, yeah, by the third lockdown, I guess with also the restrictions by the third lockdown were very different to those of the first one. Because the first one was obviously you cannot do anything, whereas the third one was much more sort of relaxed and meant you could do more. But look at myself in like March 2020 compared to like January 2021 is completely different.
Was COVID, for you specifically, big tragedy?
Yeah.
For you, was COVID a blessing in disguise, now looking back on it?
I think you were saying obviously it was a massive tragedy. Loads of people died. It was terrible. But from my privileged point of view, I didn't lose anyone to COVID. It was fairly like untraumatic for me and my family, luckily. I think it was somewhat of a blessing in disguise because without going the obvious route, I started my YouTube channel in COVID because I needed something to do, and that is also something I love doing. And I don't know if I'd have started it if it weren't for that, because it's something I'd wanted to do for ages. And it was actually my younger brother, I hate that he gets the credit for it, who said, you've always wanted to do YouTube, why don't you give it a go? That I even started it. And it got my family closer together because none of us could. So my dad works like all day, my mum works all day, Harvey, my older brother, works like either really late night into early morning or he works through the whole day. So we don't see each other a whole lot. And so COVID sort of brought the family together, which was really nice, and meant we could do like, it sounds really wanky, play like games together, like whack Monopoly out, get a bit of Cluedo going, something, bring everyone together, which was really nice. And it meant the time we could spend with like grandparents, like when Christmas came around, you could have like 2 people in a ventilated room. That time was then more valuable because we hadn't been able to. So yeah, I think it did help, definitely family, like bringing everyone back together, which was nice.
Sometimes it's hard to bring around certain topics that I think to get a full picture of you we need to discuss. When was the first time for you? Up until what age did you not really notice anything about your body and your relationship with it?
It was. I mean, I've always been a bigger kid. Like that, I can't get around that. I've always been bigger than everyone else, and I thought, well, that's fine. That's how I was born. I can't, like, even born, I was a fat baby when I was born. Like, I weighed a lot, and I was like, I can't get around that. I can, like, obviously you can do, like, make sure you're feeding it better, like, not just crap. You can make sure you're actually getting exercise. But I was like, I'm not fussed about, like, going intensively and getting this down to like a slim 6, but like that wasn't. I'm not fussed. And I was like, that's fine. I've got, like, I don't have any like extreme allergies to anything. I was like, right, my eyes are good. I was like, this is great. I don't need glasses. I don't have like an extreme nut allergy or anything. I was like, hey, this is great. Look at me go, basically. Which was. Well, my eyes are definitely going to be in the bin because both my parents have glasses, so my eyes are definitely on the way out, which isn't great.
So when really did it start to affect you? When do we get to that point?
I assume you're talking about what we got in here, or
generally wherever you want to go.
there was not. I mean, a lot of my friends are like, "Oh, I've broken 3 bones," and I'm like, "How have you done that?" I've broken 1 bone in my life, and it must have been like year 10. I broke my elbow, which fucking hurt. But although when I broke it, I went to the hospital and they're like, "You've just sprained it, it'll be alright." And then it swelled up to a watermelon. They're like, "We might have to get that x-rayed." I was like, "That'd be good." And so now it clicks whenever I move it, which is great, and that's obviously not fun. But that's the only that's the only big thing I've done that's had like a consequence on my body, where like I've broken a bone. I've never fractured anything, never really sprained anything massively. Which is that's a good thing, and I feel very lucky to have never had like an extreme one of my mum's mates dislocated and cracked her ankle, and I was like, if that ever happens to me, because I'm quite squeamish, so if that ever happened to me, I would faint on the spot, because that would ruin me. Like she had a bone sticking through her foot, I'd be like, that would be me gone. That would be me gone. So luckily it was a clean break, as clean as a broken elbow can be.
So what would you describe your relationship with your body image to be at this current point?
So early, like before late secondary school, I was like, you're a kid. You're not at least for me, I wasn't that conscious of my body, just because it's not something I thought about. Through later secondary school, I was a bit like, other people look slimmer than me. They have more muscle than me. They're not as big as me, and that really got in my head. And even college, I was like, I'm bigger than 90% of the people here. That's terrifying. And with what we do, like go through acting, you have to wear sometimes quite tight clothes because you don't want to be restricted with what you're doing, and that made me feel very self-conscious, and doing warming up and doing movement classes when we did the stuff with our college lecturers, we did the Zumba stuff. I always felt like I'm sweating like a fucking pig, and there's people here who don't even have a drip, and we're doing the same thing, which really got in my head. And even with movement classes at uni, I was like, I can't keep up with this. I'm gonna collapse if I do any more of this, which did really get in my head. And I was like, maybe there was a point where I was like, maybe I should stop. Maybe I'm not fit enough to do this, which wasn't great. And it's only recently with people that I've sort of surrounded myself with that have gone, look, you don't have you look at you're not it's Parker who was like, right, you're healthy, your heart's not in trouble, you're not clinically overweight, you're okay. Which is now I'm trying to get more accepted. Yeah, okay, I'm a bit bigger than other people, but I'm not. My health isn't in trouble because of that, which is good. So it's still not great, but I'm trying to get better at accepting that because yes, I could go to the gym intensely and I could lose all the weight and but it's not something that I don't have the motivation. It's not something I want for myself, if that makes sense. And so I'm like, right, as long as I'm eating good stuff, getting exercise, then we'll be fine. As long as I'm not in trouble health-wise, which is good.
So that description is not necessarily a huge shift, but I remember in your first mental health video on the channel, you were quite descriptive about how you were going through an exercisey, weight lossy regime. Are you now more body positive, and that's what's changed that mentality, or is it something else?
I think it's definitely about body positivity. I'm I'm happy now in this body. Whereas then I was like, I am a lump, this is horrible. I actively hate how I look. Whereas now I'm a bit more how I look, I'm not physically repulsed by myself anymore, which is always a positive. And I think a lot of that was, that health kick was during when we had all the lockdowns going on, so I couldn't really do anything else. And I was like, that was obviously a massive thing in COVID. One of the trends was people are losing, Joe Wicks, everyone's losing a lot of weight, that sort of thing. So I was like, yeah, I'll get it on that. And I weighed myself this morning, and I am still lower than I was at my lowest point in that whole weight loss thing. So I'm like, right, I haven't put on a load of weight, but I'm happy with this weight now. And like, I don't, yeah, I think the shift there was from, I've now got other stuff I can go out and do, and I just do like food. That is another problem. I just do like food, and yeah, it sounds like a really, oh, that's funny. I do like food. I like, and because I like cooking as well, I like cooking, I like eating the food, I like food. I'm never going to change that.
Without trying to lump, because I'd say three of the big issues you've faced, we've discussed: depression, anxiety, body image.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, having finished that bit of the conversation, which one I think you least struggle with.
Okay.
I think struggle with is the wrong way to phrase it, but which one... Is there one or all three or some of them that you're actively looking to improve, and which one do you feel a pressure to actively improve them? Are you not improving or trying to?
I think, yeah, the body image stuff, this is, I think, the happiest I've been in my body and myself since, like, post GCSE, like, childhood naivety sort of thing, where you don't think about that sort of stuff. So I think of those three, I think the body issues is the one I'm least worried about now. Like, yes, there are still times where I'm like, I don't look great, or like, I'll put something on and go, that's really tight, I don't like that. So that's the one I'm least worried about. Of these sort of anxiety and depression stuff, I think the anxiety affects me more on the day to day. I think anxiety has more of an effect on me. But I think I have more ways to get round that anxiety. Like, I've just started a new job. I'm not going to say what it is or go too deep into it, but I have to talk to people a lot, and I have to go do things like solo quite a lot. And the way I'm like, because that usually that would make me feel really anxious, but in my head I'm sort of going, but be an exaggerated version of yourself. So like almost like be Fraser Oliver. Like when I'm at that job, because then you are putting on a performance, which I'm like, that really helps. Of like, step through those doors and act like you just stepped onto stage, and you're being that friendly, open, enthusiastic person, which is really helping. But I think anxiety affects me more on the daily, but depression, when it does happen, affects me way more, if that makes sense.
So how are you when those really bad depression days hit? Are you finding that through your coping mechanisms they're coming less frequently, or are you just because from what it seems like, for example, with anxiety and body image and things you talked about, you haven't necessarily actively gone, this is how I improve those, but through just natural experience, they've improved. How in 5 years' time, where do you think your depression will be, and how?
Well, I think a massive thing that I found to mention with that helps with depression. I'm a person that needs to be around other people in order to like feel like alone time for me is dangerous, because it means that I'm alone with thoughts. I can start thinking, and for me it literally takes one thing to trigger it, and then my brain will go into like overthink everything that's happened ever. Like, and that's a terrible. I think that's why it happens less frequently, but I think that's why when it does happen, it really affects me, because one thing will happen and it will send me into like a spiral, and then my brain will start thinking about 150,000 other things. But I'm hoping in 5 years, I'd like to think I will have quite a good grasp on it and how to cope with it, because at least over the 3-4 years that I've really, really struggled with it, I have found little things that help. So hopefully within 5 years I'll have like a good list in my brain of, if it happens, this is what you do. But also I'm hoping I'll be happier in life, in that I won't have a reason to have those spirals. Because like even living in this house for the past month has been amazing. And if it keeps on, hopefully I won't have as much of a reason for it, if that sense.
Sexuality.
Yes.
That's the question.
It was sort of like year 9, 10 maybe of secondary school where I started to realise that I was seeing men, I guess, in a different way, like in a way that wasn't just, oh, look, like, and it was one of those things where I was like scared by it, because I was like, is this good, is this bad, it was probably, I don't think I would have realised it back then, but probably year 7, I probably looked at other boys in my class or in the school and was just sort of like, oh, they look really good. But in my head back then, I think I would have thought, oh, that's just, I'm allowed to look at someone else and think that they look nice. But looking back at it now, it's definitely like, oh, that was an early... But I didn't want to think it, I think, was a problem. And not because I grew up in, like, a particularly, like, my parents were never, like, vocally, like, never really said out any views on that stuff. So I wasn't like, I know they'll hate me. I think just society, even back then, was very, like, heterosexually driven, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so in my head I was like, this isn't normal, so it's not happening, it's fine. But it wasn't until year 9, 10 where I was like, okay, this is something that actively is a part of me, and that's where I came out to I came out to like close mates as bisexual, and then I think I came out to my mum like 2 months after, because I knew, it's not like I thought my dad had like hate me, but I had a closer relationship with my mum than I did my dad. And I think it might be down to like my dad and my brothers love football, and like I said earlier, I've never liked football, not really into sport. So I had a closer relationship with my mum, and I thought, okay, it was almost like in my head, like, right, okay, I figured out what that was, that's fine, I'm bi, that's all good, continue on with your life. And then, very recently, as in first year of uni, I had like I don't look at girls like that at all. What's this about? Because before I was like, oh, okay, I'm bi, but just with a preference to boys. That's how it is. And then it was like, oh, I just don't see women, girls like that. That's not how I look at them. Which was then when in my head I was like, am I gay? Is this? And it was, I probably felt like that for 2 months before I said anything. And then I think the first time I said anything was to you, was it Outside Spoons, when we were drunk? And it was...
That's what you told me.
That's how a lot of things happen. It's drunk.
Is that a comfort thing? Is that I'm not maybe brave enough to,
100%.
to speak?
It's I want to say it, but I'm not brave enough in my sober self to say it. But obviously when you're drunk, that all goes out the window. Impulse control doesn't exist. And yeah, and so I just sort of told you Outside of Spoons. And that was... I still haven't told my parents yet. They don't watch. They are not watching this far into the Fraser on the video, don't worry. So all the people I want to know friend-wise know. And again, it's not that I don't want to come out to my parents because I think they're going to hate me. It's just a difficult thing to bring up. Like, how do you bring that up? Is the worry. But yeah, I'm not, because if I hadn't come out at all to them, like even as bi, there'd be more of a pressure on me, but I probably should. But because I want to come out as bi, I'm a bit like, I will tell them, but I'm not in a rush to, if that makes sense.
Are you happier now you feel like you've got a bigger picture of yourself?
100%, yeah. Because I think maybe, again, going back to earlier I was saying about like early life being, as you said, like a showman of I want to do all this, and then sort of that being taken, sort of, or me just not being like that anymore. I think this is, yeah, it's very much trying to get back to who I was then, and maybe this is a part of that, and it's just nice to, yeah, know in my mind who I am without sounding too sort of pretentious about it.
So overall, would you say it affects you still? Does any element of it hurt
Of
you?
what?
Or of you know who you feel like you are, any because these discoveries have been on the more recent side.
Yeah.
are there still elements of there maybe trying to find yourself, or
I honestly don't think, if there are, I don't think it's massive things. No, I am now happy with who I am, which is a feeling I don't think I have felt in a while. Like, I'm 100% content with this is who I am. As far as I'm aware, there's not going to be any more like big discoveries within myself or like revelations within myself that I can that I feel that are going to happen, which is a nice feeling.
Yeah,
which is it's good. It's comforting almost.
You want to be an actor?
I do.
Why?
So again, like I said earlier, a lot of my growing up, and then a lot of like comfort places for me are films. Like, I grew up watching films, going to the cinema, watching them at home, and watching them I was always like, wait, that's someone's job to pretend to be that person? That's amazing. Like, I want to do that. That sounds so cool. And then, again, almost with the, almost when I said that I lost that when I went into school, I think that same thing happened with the passion for acting, where like it sort of left and I was like, right, academic stuff, I need a good paying job, I need an academic job. And then it came back in sort of GCSE, where I did GCSE drama, we did School of Rock together. I think it started to come back there. But yeah, growing up, it's always something I was amazed that that's a job you can have, where you literally pretend to be someone else and have fun doing that process. And in effect, it's a job where you, when people say, why do you go to the theatre, a lot of people say, well, it's like an escape from our world to go and live in another world. And if I can take part in that, not only to escape myself in another character, but also to provide that for other people, then that's a win-win for me.
What, if any, are your insecurities around acting?
I feel so... That's a difficult question. Self-conscious is a massive one. It's just like, on stage, all these people are looking at me, and whether they mean to or not, judging me. Like, even anyone who watches theatre, whether they actively, consciously mean to or not, you are making assumptions and you are making opinions of who you're watching on stage or even on screen. And that's a massive thing that affects me. Like, people are watching this and going, he's terrible, he's not funny, this isn't good, he can't act. And that massively gets in my head. During like rehearsing for things as well as performing them, of what if this isn't good, what if this is only good in my head, which is stressful. I guess that's where you have people around you. You can go on, like, I know I can come to you and go, watch this, tell me honestly if this is good, and if it isn't, luckily I know I've got you to go, it isn't good, this is what you should do to improve it. And that's the kind of people that I want to have. They'll go, like, I don't want a bunch of people who are like, oh, it's whatever I do, they're going to go, that's good, you're great, even though it's not. And I think that's the way to get rid of that insecurity, to have people that go, it's not good, this is what you need to do to improve it.
How set on acting are you?
I mean, it's one of those things where I want to do performing of some description. No, maybe that's not... I want to do entertainment of some description. Maybe that's what I mean, not performing. So, like, whether that's...
Suddenly just whack yourself on Pornhub.
Or, of course. But whether that's TV presenting or radio presenting, presenting in some way, I want to be in the world of entertainment. If it turns out that isn't acting, I'm not going to be massively upset with that. As I know I have a passion for being in the entertainment industry somehow. If that doesn't end up being acting and it ends up being presenting or ends up being directing even, like, I just want to be in that industry. Which is, it's not something I've ever actually thought about until you've asked it, as like how, if it's not acting and I'm still in the industry, I'm not sure I'll be too upset.
That's... Because that's very interesting that you... Because you've led that into... Oh, I guess in a way you've answered the question of if if it's not acting, it's fine because I can work in the arts in themselves.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're therefore very tied to the arts, and if it wasn't anything artistic, presenting, anything like that, that's when that real fall would come for you? Or do you still reckon it's just a goal and not the be-all and end-all?
No, I think it's... Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's the goal. It's not the only thing I want to do ever in my life. It is a goal that I want to achieve. But there are, like, even jobs, like, outside of being in the entertainment or the arts industry. Like, I know we spoke about even being, like, a lecturer of some sort at, like, a uni or a college. That is something that appeals to me. I'd never want to be, like, a GCSE drama teacher or anything because I couldn't deal with that age of students, but like being a lecturer at uni or college, that's something that again appeals to me. So it's, yeah, I think as long as it's linked in some way to the entertainment industry, I think I'll be content with myself. Obviously, acting's the dream, but if that doesn't happen, as it doesn't for a lot of people, I'd like to fall back on something in the entertainment industry.
Be honest with yourself. In 15 years' time,
Yes.
Do you think you will be classifying yourself as an actor?
I mean, I'd say yes, but I don't know in what capacity that would be. Whether that's, like, it could be... I don't know if in 15 years I'd classify myself as solely an actor. Is the thing. Like, I don't think it'll be the only thing that I am, if that makes sense. Like, it might be actor, but also presenter, or actor, but also... Like, I don't think in 15 years I'll be going, I am just an actor. Because, I don't see that as where it'll go.
You can tell me that I'm reading into your response.
Okay.
But... does that imply that you do have the confidence in terms of in 15 years you truly believe you will have made it as an actor / blank? Or is that in a way I want to know how you've answered my question in terms of, have you answered it in terms of you believe you won't solely be an actor, or have you answered it in the fact of, yes, in 15 years, I do believe acting will be in my life in a professional capacity. I do believe I will make it.
So, yeah, I'm not saying I think in 15 years I'm going to be I don't think I'll be on Broadway, I don't think I'll be on West End, I don't think I'm going to be I don't think I'm going to be in like a blockbuster film. I'd like to think in 15 years I'll be an actor in some form of professional way. Whether that's a small, like, using like context building, whether that's like I'm performing in a play at Bristol Old Vic, or doing like a UK tour of some sort of play, or like that, or like, I think I will be doing acting as a part of my life in some sort of professional way, but I don't think I will have made it as like, in a blockbuster film or West End, anything like that. I don't think.
I mean, obviously, tell me I'm beating a dead horse, but just for some true honest, because I'm really curious to see where your confidence in your own acting ability lies. Yes or no, in 10, 15 years, or maybe a better way of phrasing it is, in 20 years, do you reckon you will still be seeking acting work, or do you reckon you will not have gained enough success that you believe you will have had to pivot so significantly that you will no longer consider yourself acting?
I think the problem is with me is I'm very with certain things I'm not very persistent. So if I've had 10, 15 years of trying to get acting jobs and nothing really falling through in a significant enough way, I'd have probably gone, maybe this isn't going to work, I need to find something else. And even my parents have been very yeah, we totally support you doing acting, but please make sure you've got something that if that doesn't work out, you don't just like chase that your whole life and then have nothing else to fall back on.
Full forward.
Of course. Like later on in life, like 'cause if you get to 80 and you've just been chasing acting your whole life, that's not going to be a good life for you. So it's like, it's sort of been drilled into me, like, I need to have something else that I can do if I don't like make it in the world of acting, which is strange.
The Fraser Oliver channel.
Yes.
Why?
Good. That is a very good question.
I know that can come across jokingly, but I'm genuinely is there because I can very much predict without being rude the I was born in lockdown answer. Is there something more you can give me?
Yeah. So yeah, my go-to answer when someone asks that is the lockdown. But there is before that, because Alfred's like, you've always wanted to do YouTube for ages. You keep saying it, and I think that came from I watched a lot of YouTube as like, I didn't watch it a lot early teens, but I'd say from like 14 onwards, I was watching a lot of YouTube, and like the main names that I can think up there would be Super Carlin Brothers, Seamus Gorman. I watched a lot of like Stampy and like Minecraft. Like I watched a lot of YouTube, and it was that thing of, for me, I didn't realise. This sounds strange. I didn't realise in my head that was just people with a camera making stuff that they wanted to make. I don't know what I thought it was, but it wasn't that. And then when I realised it was just people who had a camera and wanted to talk about things, I was like, oh, I could do that. I could do that, and I just didn't do it. And I think it was the confidence thing of people will hate it, no one will want to watch it. What's the point? But yeah, it's. I guess why the answer is, I like talking about things that I'm passionate about, and yeah, it's a good platform to be able to put things out on, and it's also like, it's there forever until I either actively delete it or private it or whatever, or YouTube as a platform goes down. It is there forever. So in 10, 15 years, if YouTube is still a platform, I'll be able to go back and look on a video I did 10, 15 years ago, and that is really nice to think about.
Is there a point where you've ever gone, fuck, I'm thinking about giving it up, I want to stop?
I honestly don't think there is. I think there's been moments where I've gone, I need to change my content, but I don't think there's ever been a moment where I've gone, I don't think I can do this anymore. No.
When was the most difficult moment? When was the moment where maybe not because of outside reasons, but just because of the channel itself? When was the moment that uploading a video was a bit difficult? Where was the moment that it just wasn't where's the least enjoyable you found the process?
Surprisingly, it would have been early on, in that I, for some reason, was daily uploading during. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. Honestly, the stress that brought me. So for the first, I think, like month and a half of doing it, it was daily uploads. And the problem with that, there were so many problems that came with that. I didn't have a logical way of doing things, in that I didn't edit it on my laptop. My brother edited it on his iPad for some reason, so I had to send it over to him to get it back, using like Google Drive and all that stuff, which was a pain. I then had to try and come up with an idea every day, which not practical. And if you want to look back on some of my older content, it is shit content.
Guess the Minifigure 4 is my personal favourite.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it? There's like minute videos on there. Like, what was I doing? That's not good. Like, just because you're uploading daily doesn't mean you can put up like a minute video on Lego Mario. Like, you can't. That for me was a time where I was like, actually I'd upload a video and go, that wasn't good, but I need to upload every day, which you don't. I don't know why I was doing it. That was the only way I could think where I was like, this is more hassle than it's worth.
Is there any part of you that regrets the Fraser Oliver channel?
Honestly, no, because if anything, like I said earlier, like I need something to do. Like I need to be doing something. And like this month, where like we haven't had uni. I didn't have a job. I was like, if it wasn't for the channel, I don't know what I actually would have done. Like, because yeah, I might have gone out, but I don't know what I would have been doing with my days. And so to know that I just like the process of thinking the idea, scripting it or researching it and filming it, and I like the creative process of that. So I honestly don't think there's any part of me that regrets the channel at all, really. I think that was intense. I thought you would say sexuality again.
I think I'm certainly interested in it.
Okay.
It's become a little bit of a joke.
Okay, I know where this is going.
There is a big part of your channel
Yes.
that I want a bit of a deep dive into.
Okay.
The Marvel musical.
Yes.
Now, I've got a little stat for you here.
I love this. Okay.
So 66.4% of your channel's views is that video.
That is mental.
So, just very roughly, I did some rounding to create that figure, but so very close to 2/3.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
I liken it to when like a smaller YouTuber gets shouted out by a bigger YouTuber, and they get a lot of like some people that subscribe to that channel because they've been told to by this big YouTuber they watch, and it's like that's a lot of views, but it's sort of hurt the channel more than it's helped. And the other noise is why that video. Like, of all the videos I put up on my channel, why is it me watching the Marvel musical? That might be someone's only ever experience of my channel, and it's me watching. It's definitely a weird one. Because obviously, having a video that's done that well is a great feeling, but it comes with its downsides. It definitely comes with its downsides.
I mean, it's kind of linked. I mean, because if I was to say so myself,
yes,
you have created a very successful YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Because because most people in this world couldn't create a channel with over 1,000 subs. Like, achieving monetization on a YouTube channel is a big achievement. Yeah. But does that give you any imposter syndrome to know that without being harsh, I don't think you would be there without them?
No, I wouldn't. 100% I wouldn't. And yeah, it's that feeling of I would not be anywhere near the count. I looked this morning at how many, because I know we're doing stuff like that. It's going to come up. I'm going to look. Subscribers, I think it's between 700 and 800 subscribers from that one video, which is mental. And like, obviously that it takes something away from what I've done with, like, from the amount of subscribers I've got. But in my head, I'm like, something I thought recently, I was like, right, well, I need to use this then. If I've been lucky for that video to somehow hit the algorithm in the way it has, I need to try and, like, capitalise on that and know that I've got that many subscribers. And it's a very, like, it's a good and a bad thing. And yet, obviously, it's kind of a joke that I quite like that though. Like, you've got to have jokes, right? You've got to.
If you knew what that video would become, would you still make it?
Yes. I can't say I wouldn't. I would 100%. If someone said this video is going to get you 700 subscribers and over 100,000 views, do you want to still upload it? I'd go yes. Because, which I guess sounds terrible, but I would, because...
AdSense.
And it's a great feeling to have a video that's done that well, but it's also not because, yeah, it's straight. That will always be my top performing video. I don't that will never change.
I think it's very important to say that there is no shame in feeling like in fact 90 you get 100 people in a room, 95% of people would say yes, I would keep that up.
Yeah.
Because no matter the slight downsides,
It's
that is
earned
a
me
brilliant
50 quid from that one video. Yes, I'll keep it up.
Of course.
Because yeah. But why why that fucking video?
Almost transitioning away from that, but in a way, if you were to have your top 5 proudest YouTube moments, something soppy and a bit cunty like that, would the Marvel musical make it on that? Top 5. If it wouldn't make the top 5, but top 10, I'm interested. Does that video really make you proud in terms of what it's achieved?
It makes me proud, but I don't think it'd be. I think it'd be top 10. I'm not sure it'd be top 5. Just because there are things I didn't do much for the Marvel musical. Like, if you're looking at the video, I didn't do much on that video. I sat there and I spoke about the Marvel musical while watching it. That's not doing any. I didn't do anything. Like, because then when I look at like what's your proudest achievement of the channel, up there would be this was like getting Robbie Knox on the podcast. I've watched his content for ages. I loved to sit down with him twice and chat with him. That was a proud moment for me. Having a series like this, but the SpongeBob series, how did that do that well? I'm proud of that. I don't know if Marvel Musical would make it top 5. It would make it top 10, but I don't think it'd be top 5.
Do you have any others? Any others that you feel deserve that?
I mean, I'd say that the podcast as a whole, I really enjoyed that podcast. I'm trying to bring it back, just getting guests on to do it. But that I'm proud of as a whole, because I've had a whole range of guests on that it's been nice to sit, because I love listening to podcasts. So to be able to create my own podcast with guests that I care about is really fun. The SpongeBob series was good. I find it hard to be proud of the channel without feeling like I'm over like tooting my own horn. If that makes I don't want to go. Oh, I'm so good. My channel's so good, because it's a weird one.
So the Fraser Oliver podcast.
Yes.
First of all, apart from Robbie, because just because it's quite fun, do you have a favourite guest?
Oh God. Favourite? Is this favourite as in like?
I want favourite to have them on and just maybe not best but most like guest for their size. You feel like their podcast created the most.
Well, I think for doing it in terms of just guest as in the name, I think Robbie would have to be.
Apart from Robbie.
Okay. See, favourite to sit down and talk to, I think would be John, because he is just like a lovely guy, and I've done 2 podcasts with him, and each time it's been, I feel like I'm just chatting to a mate. Like, he's a very nice, down to earth, doesn't take himself seriously, lovely guy. I think I can't remember if it's David or David, but there was a clown I had on, who was an American clown. He was really good, because he had like a proper insight on clowning, so that was a lot of fun. Even to be fair, having old schoolmates I had like Austin, I had Reese on. Reese was a great, actually I might say Reese, because that was, I don't know how that happened, but it was so fun. I hadn't spoken to him in years. That's something I want to try and see if I could do more, is have like old mates on and talk to them that I haven't seen in ages, because that could be quite fun.
Yeah, I feel like another podcast with me would be a really,
100%.
Really intriguing.
Yeah.
No one's ever heard my
are.
insight before. Has doing the Fraser Oliver podcast taught you anything?
I
was gonna, give you more specifics there, but I feel like if I don't want to lead you anywhere.
think definitely interview. interview skills, I guess, of like how to. Like for my first podcast I did, I couldn't even tell you who the first guest was, but I literally had like a few notes on my phone, and I didn't really put a lot of time into it. And then if you look to my most recent one that hasn't even been recorded yet, but I think it's happening in a couple of weeks. I've done like research on them. I've got like 6 pages of notes, but like full questions, which I think how to structure an interview. I think it's really taught me, as well as just ask people. Like if you don't email someone, it's not going to happen, is it? Like people say, oh, I won't get them on my podcast. I'm like, well, you might not, but just email them anyway, and see if you can. Like I've got someone. I'll say their name. I'm not going. I'll bleep it out. Chris Rankin, who played Percy Weasley in Harry Potter. I emailed his agent and said about it, and she was like, he loves doing like fans podcasts. He's doing a tour for something Harry Potter, but when he gets back, I'll speak to him. I'm sure we'll be able to work something out. That's amazing. If you don't email, it's not going to happen. So it's definitely taught me just be brave, go and email people, and worst case they'll say no, which is a good thing.
What is the future? You know, what's first of all?
Yes.
What's the future for YouTube? I don't give a fuck about what Susan.
Susan Wojcicki. Get her on the podcast.
Why are you a shit?
Why are you a raging cunt, Susan? For the channel, I just wanna. I'm trying to put more like research. I've done a lot of like Muppet history videos, and like I want to do more history based, like fandom history, if that makes sense. I really like looking into like the Muppets, but I also want to do like some Marvel history stuff, like more researchy, in-depth videos, but also doing like my musical theatre stuff, and hopefully try and maintain the schedule if we can, which I've done pretty good so far.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, is try and keep a good schedule that I actually stick to. And look more into analytics and like watch videos on how to like trick the algorithm, or how to use it to your benefit, that sort of like technical side of it, I think.
What about you?
Me.
What about is... Because, fuck your like you know, well done, you're going to graduate, and then you might try and find a job, and then you might try and find an agent. What's the future for you as a person?
I've got genuinely no idea. Like, at this point in life, I'm like, I honestly don't know. I mean, at some point, I'd like to get married. I'd quite like that. That'd be, like, that. But other than that, like, yes, I need a good job. Yes, I'd like it to be in entertainment somehow. But if we're get that and just looking to like me as like social / family life, I'd like to have a nice house. I'd like to be married. And I'm not having kids. I'm sorry. I can't deal with it. Don't like children.
Actually, just go. You don't really want to.
No, and even if I just don't. But even like I don't want to. I don't like kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to give myself that pressure and like responsibility a lot. But yeah, it's a big question. I have no idea. See, that thing of like no one. This is going to sound very wanky. I'm so sorry.
Probably will.
But no one. People literally like, okay, so you need to go to school, get your GCSEs. They go to college and do something you want to like. Study something for a job you want to do. Go to uni, do the same thing, and then get a job. They sort of like guide you. It's like, okay, now go and have a life. And it's like, oh, okay. And I have no idea, which is scary. But you know, we'll improvise.
Yeah,
improvise.
I think this is the most important question I'm going to ask, and it's going to sound arseholey.
Okay, I like arseholey then.
Are you happy?
Yeah, I think I am. I think I said this earlier. I am the happiest now that I can like remember consciously being, if that makes sense. So like when I was 4, running around the house watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, I was probably very happy. But that I can consciously remember in like late teen adult life, I think this is the most content I've been with my life. Which is a very nice feeling, actually.
Well, you can tell me if I haven't covered a point that you felt like was particularly important. I'm happy if you're happy.
I think that was really good. I think it was a nice insight to the mess that is Fraser on.
Well, I think you've done well.
Thank you.
I think you've been... I don't want to say that you've been fully honest because that's only in your own head.
Yeah.
But I think you've given us a good picture. I think you've been candid, honest. I think points of this video will help people when you're, especially around, mental health, body image, sexuality. I think you've covered a lot, and I think I'd like to say that the people will know you a wee bit better.
I'm hoping so. Well, thank you for coming on. That was a solid interview.
Thank you very much.
That's good.
That's
good. Thank you.
It's a bit weird now. No one really knows how to outro it.
I'm just gonna rock back.
Subscribe to the Fraser on the channel. This is weird. We've just
do like this really deep conversation then. Well, like and subscribe, guys.